Diets and workouts, you've done the work, so why can't you get to your goal weight? That's because up to 70% of your weight is predetermined by your genetics. So while you've been told that it's all about your willpower, you're actually fighting your biology. Don't do it alone. Found's Doctor Design program uses medication as part of a treatment plan that targets your body's unique biological needs, so that your body works with you and not against you. Take the quiz at joinfound.com to see if Found's weight loss program is right for you.
The following is a GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street production. You've discovered your link to GoPowerCat.com's PowerCat Questions podcast, presented by Fridge Wholesale Liquor, and it starts right now. Now, let's go to the WTC Gig-Powered Studios. Here's your host, GoPowerCat.com publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to the PowerCat Podcast, the questions version we do each week, and boy, did the questions thread at Wabash Station warm up, because football is about here, or at least the attempt at football. We will see. Tim Fitzgerald, Zach Carlson, Ryan Gilbert, your trio of K-State sports knowledge. Folks, if you're not a subscriber to GoPowerCat.com, right now is the time to do it. Right now, football's coming. Our coverage is revving up. We've added another really talented sports writer to our staff, and Adam Suderman, to help out Ryan Wallace and Ryan Gilbert with recruiting. So we'll have more recruiting coverage than ever, complete team coverage, game coverage, features, analysis, commentary. We're going to do it all. We're not a one-trick pony out there. 50% off a GoPowerCat subscription right now to help celebrate 24/7 Sports' 10th anniversary. They've been in the business 10 years, and they're already the market leader because we've got the boss with the balls. I don't know if that's a good description of Shannon Terry. He's got balls. I'm sure he does. He's got children. He's gutsy. He knows the industry. He's the one who built Rivals into what it is, sold it, and now has 24/7 Sports, and he is the innovator of this industry. As seen right now during the pandemic, when 24/7 Sports has actually grown and is at its largest size in VIP memberships at any time in its history. Come join GoPowerCat.com. You're going to love the coverage from D. Scott Fritch and Ryan Wallace, these two guys that are sitting here on Zoom with me, and the rest of the staff, Michael Goins and Suderman and everyone. We're working really hard to get it done for you. And I think you'll like the message board quite a bit. It's a whole different environment than what you might be used to, where people actually talk about sports and don't get personal. It's incredible. Wabash Station just has been very refreshing for my soul since we moved to 24/7. 50% off. This is the PowerCat Questions podcast, and we're always sponsored by The Fridge and Tanner's and the High Low. Please stop in any of those places when you're in Manhattan. And, of course, our main sponsor is The Fridge. I stopped by the other day. Good buddy of mine, who's related to Riley Gates, may I add. His brother is now working there. I can't get away from the Gateses. I just can't.
Tyson?
No, Tyson. Man, I saw vacation photos. Tyson's grown. Tyson's like 5'8" now. Little Tyson's growing up. Now, Jared.
He's taller than Riley?
I don't know. Maybe he's not that tall. I don't know. He was. I didn't see any side by side, but that's probably because Riley didn't want that to happen. Oh, brother! But the Fridge is awesome. I wheeled in. They put booze in my car. I wheeled out. Beautiful thing using that app, paying on the app, and they bring it out to your car. Like I said, we got a ton of questions from Wabash Station this week, and let's just get rolling. Ryan Gilbert's in charge of reading the questions. He's not always good at the actual reading. But we give him a candy bar after each episode to reward him like a good boy. Ryan Gilbert, take it away.
First question of the podcast from WCAT. This is a new member to the site, so welcome, WCAT. What will K-State's record be this year, assuming they play 9 conference games and Buffalo?
Wow, that's a good one. I would say 6-4. I had them at 5-4 in the conference, so I think they would beat Buffalo. It's going to be interesting to see if it's Buffalo they play, if it's North Dakota they play. I'll have more on this later as we debut a new video feature we're going to have. It's called The Daily Delivery. Zach, I'm just not sure it'll be daily.
Yeah.
I tried to do one yesterday, and then all the news changed by the time I was finished writing the script. And then I waited for kind of finalizing the news, and then the NCAA didn't make any decisions, which is so NCAA. But, yeah, we're not sure who that 10th opponent will be, but I'm not thinking they're going to schedule anyone they can't beat. So I'm going to go 6-4. 5-4 in the conference. Boy, there's going to be some people around the country shocked because their team's been going to bowls at like 8-4, and now they're going to realize, oh, we were only a 4-win conference team this whole time, and we've got a losing record at the end of this season that we're playing most or all conference games.
Yeah, I think 6-4 is a good fair target. 5-4 in the conference. It's hard to think about the schedule now that the schedule can change.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, it's hard to go down and, you know, where the games are going to be played. Who knows if that'll change? But, you know, KU, Texas Tech, obviously Buffalo. There's 3 wins right there. I'm literally drawing a blank because I can't think of the schedule.
It gets difficult because now you might go to West Virginia with 1 game under your belt instead of 3. So how does that change things as a team? You know, you don't have a couple decent opponents, North Dakota to warm up with, and then Buffalo and Vanderbilt. Maybe ahead of steam at 3-0 going into Morgantown, which was what the schedule was. Does that change now? Because the Big 12 kind of dropped a bomb there since kind of leaked out that, hey, we're going to release the schedule in a couple weeks. A couple weeks? I mean, I was under the understanding that the schedule's set. I mean, nothing changed here. You're playing all 9 teams, but now they want to move some games up into September, which I get. But why is that going to take a couple weeks? That's just crazy to me because the season is like 5 weeks away now that they're talking about mid-September.
Well, I saw on Feinbaum Feinbaum was on First Take this morning talking about how the Big 12 might be playing in August. August 28th might be the start. So if we're talking a couple weeks for the schedule to get released, we're basically a couple weeks from, you know, we're 3 weeks out if we're going to start August 28th.
I think the conference, yeah, you're right. The conference said play starting in mid-September. I meant mid to late September. I thought that meant all play, but apparently now the conference is saying that's league play. They're going to move games up into September. Basically, it's not going to shock anyone that neither the Big 12 nor the NCAA is doing a good job of communicating a plan. So, I mean, I guess if you play North Dakota, it's already scheduled for September 12th. You just leave it there. It's just such a chaotic mess because people are being – I know they're waiting to get the best information, but at this point you're going. That's what I don't understand. I thought they were waiting to make the decision if they're going to go or not, and everyone's going to go now. They're going to try. They're going to open up camp and see what happens. They're going to play a game or two and see what happens. Set the damn schedule and pick something. Let's go. Gills, what's your record prediction?
I'll go 6-4 with you guys as well. I don't think the whole 3 games versus only having 1 game matters too much. It's a level playing field, you know, around the conference. So, you know, if you're talking about that game at West Virginia, they've only played 1 game as well. You look at last year when K-State had a really good non-con, won 3 games and got those jitters out of the way, and then they go crap the bed in Stillwater and then come back up to Manhattan and then get blown out by Baylor. So, you know, I don't really think that those first few games really matter too much. That's just the optimist in me saying that. But I think you look at last year and you look at what's going on around the league, it's pretty level field. So I'm confident in 6-4, maybe 7-3, if they can surprise us yet again, like they always do.
Very good.
From Wizard 6294, besides BYU, Army, etc., who would be the best group of 5 teams to try to schedule and replace the Vandy game?
Well, if they could open it up to another group of 5 team, you're going to have some limitations there on who you can get. I'm not sure. Has American announced what they're doing?
I think there was a report that they're going to do an 8-game conference schedule, and then they'll be allowed to schedule up to 4 out-of-conference games. Wow. So I think they're letting them play 12. I don't know if that's smart or the right decision, but it seems that the American's going to say, hey, here's the requirement, basically. Go do whatever you want to do.
My choice would probably be Tulsa because it's an easy trip for them. It's a neighboring state, so you're seeing like types of infection rates probably, or one of the Texas schools, which seems logical. Kind of keep it within your signature. I have to admit, I'm a little uncertain about Buffalo being the team you bring in from New York State. The reports out of Colorado State, guys, whether, there's some pushback now, but some players and staff feel like they're being pushed to not report COVID symptoms, to try to go ahead and power through it, which is idiotic if true. But this emphasizes why I wanted one team brought in to play the entire conference at BYU, because then everyone has the same opponents. You only have 11 schools to monitor, and if it's who has it and who doesn't. Everyone's doing the same protocols. But now you've got a bunch of non-conference teams, and you don't know if they're actually being honest on how they're doing it, and they could spread it right into your team by playing players that are COVID positive. But anyhow, Tulsa would probably be my choice. SMU, Rice, someone in there. I'd take any of the Texas teams playing FBS football, in a heartbeat. I would have said Colorado State from the Mountain West, but no, I will take a pass.
Tulsa, I'm pretty sure, is playing either OU or OSU. So I think that would be an opponent kind of off the table there, unless they schedule as many games as they want to play. But I think really, if you could choose, pick a team that's not really in an area that's having a significant spike, and I'd say just keep North Dakota on the schedule.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to hope that FCS doesn't get moved to the spring or get moved elsewhere. Their season gets canceled. Who knows what happens with them? So I don't really know. I don't really want to bring in a team from Texas if, based on their cases. But then again, for a month away, obviously that can go down, but I don't know who I would pick. And we'll talk about it here in a little bit, but UConn's out. They were an independent as well. That could have been one of those sole teams that you just invite to the conference for a year. But, with them going independent, this is their first year as being an independent again. They were going to play a whole bunch of Power 5 teams. And since they got essentially kicked out of the Power 5, I mean, not that they ever were Power 5, but those doors were closed. Their season was essentially canceled for them, which was unfortunate. They were ideal. Well, BYU, first of all, was ideal to invite in because they already have an ESPN contract. You didn't have to worry about your money. Everyone just keeps the money they're getting. But UConn would have been great because they need the games, and they would have taken whatever money you wanted to give them. They would have been happy. They would have been ahead of the game to come in and play a Big 12 schedule. Weird to have a Connecticut team, but it's also a team that most everyone could beat. So, I mean, that's nice. Schedule a win.
From Wildcat Pilot 88, if you're a Big 12 AD, how are you handling the lone preseason game? Do you schedule a cupcake team to get reps to your depth, or do you go after a better opponent to more thoroughly battle test your team before conference play starts?
I don't over-test my team. I don't want to push them too much. I wouldn't throw – if now that they have a choice of the non-conference schedule, I wouldn't throw BYU on there. I like the fact that they might keep Buffalo. Buffalo seems like, from a football standpoint, COVID aside, from a football standpoint, Buffalo seems like the right opponent. It's supposed to be a very good MAC program this season, but one you can beat. It'll help prepare you for the Big 12 and get you ready for diving right into conference play. But if you're not ready to play, you're going to be in trouble. If you want to make sure you get the win, you keep North Dakota because that's a pretty shaky FCS team. But again, the NCAA has told the divisions to make their own decisions on when to play their championships. In the FCS, half of them have moved to the spring already, and half of them are planning in the fall. This could be really interesting to see how that division votes.
I would say schedule an easy opponent. Just get a win, first game of the season. Just kind of like if you're warming up for a round of golf, you go to the putting green and you just hit a bunch of 3 and 4 footers, just easy putts, build that confidence. You may not find some of the problems that you need to find, as early as you'd like, but I think getting a good solid win, 60-7, 60-14, just something, beat somebody big and get that confidence going, try building some momentum going into conference play.
Gills, your plan?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters too much at this point. I mean, it's kind of fun to talk about, but I don't see K-State playing anyone other than Buffalo or North Dakota. So I am with you, Zach. Get your jitters out of the way and get that easy win like we saw last year in the first game. From Exhausted Nihilist, regarding non-conference games this year, is there really a more complicated scenario than conference teams just buying out the games in which they will lose money and keeping the rest?
Well, I don't even think they're going to be buying out games. I think they'll just move them. Like if they decide not to play Buffalo this season, they'll say, okay, Buffalo, we're playing in 2026 or whatever. They have a common opening. Teams will avoid buying out. They don't have money. I mean, that's what this is about. That's why they're trying to play. They don't have the money to be buying out teams. And there's probably escape clauses in those contracts based on pandemic type things anyhow. So I don't think there'll be a ton of money going out. And I think that's the reality that a lot of these schools that rely on the bye games, the particularly the FCS teams, they're not going to get paid anyhow. They're just not. I mean, the contract's probably being invalidated because of the pandemic. So, but I think if K-State plays North Dakota or Buffalo, they'll just move the opponent to another season and be done with it. It won't really affect K-State's budget. I don't know what's going to happen with Vanderbilt, though. I mean, if they'll even bother rescheduling that or try to get Vanderbilt to pay. I don't know when they would reschedule it because their schedule's full to the 2030s. So, in terms of Power 5 opponents.
I mean, even non-Power 5 opponents, K-State's kind of full. I mean, I don't think that North Dakota or Buffalo or any of those levels of schools want to push games 10 years in the future that they were trying to get paid for now. I mean, $1 million in 10 years isn't $1 million now. So, or, whatever they're paying. I don't know what those contracts are, but I think it'll be tough. I think you're going to just see just straight cancels. As nice as it would be to play Vanderbilt, especially this year, I think DC Shorts guys did a spoof of everybody wanted to play Vanderbilt this year in the SEC conference only, but I don't know when that game will get replayed, especially with just how jam-packed non-conference schedule is the next few years for K-State.
In fact, let's take a look at that. In 2021, it's Stanford comes to town, Southern Illinois, Nevada. 22, it's South Dakota, Missouri, Tulane. 23, it's Southeast Missouri, Troy at Missouri. Yeah, man, they are full up. 2024, UT Martin at Tulane, Arizona. Then 2025 is your first opening. I can guarantee you this won't be Vanderbilt. It's Army at Arizona with an opening. 26, Washington State and Tulane come to town. 27, you go to Colorado. Now you're seeing a lot of openings. Then it's just a Power 5 opponent every year. 28, Colorado. 29, go to Washington State. And 30 and 31 is Rutgers and at Rutgers. So you would be kicking the can down the road a little bit. The soonest would be 2025 when a Buffalo could come in or a North Dakota could come in.
From Fitz's favorite, Adam K63, with UConn canceling their season, could you see them dropping football? Yeah.
I could see them saying, look, we were losing money on football. Student fees are paying a big chunk of it. Or they just go down to FCS. Yep. I mean, that might be more realistic for them just to retreat to FCS. Georgetown plays, I think, Division III football, if I'm correct in that. So, they might want to do that. But, they've got opponents in Villanova who's FCS. And I think that's probably the wisest move for UConn is just to retreat down a level. And I think that decision is being pushed here. We're going to see a mass retreat to the FCS maybe. with what's going on budget-wise right now, and maybe the fact that the pandemic is pushing the Power Five to separate themselves, at least in football, if not all sports, from the NCAA. And if that happens, then all that will be left for the NCAA really in football would be the FCS. And I think if you're not capable of making the push into the Power Five or whatever it'd be called, separate football entity, then you probably were FCS, and that would include everyone. I mean, everyone. MAC, Mountain West, everyone would end up being that level, I would think. I don't think that the NCAA would divide it up two ways at that point.
Yeah, I think UConn dropping to FCS is probably the most realistic scenario. And I don't even think they've been in FBS for 25 years. No. They moved up. They did not move up. They moved up to FBS in my lifetime. And I think the Villanova comparison is perfect. Villanova plays FCS. They make the playoffs quite often, I believe. So I think that that's kind of a good partner team, especially same conference, really. I mean, not football conference, but Big East. I think that would be a good and probably the most realistic move for them.
From Purple Crown Royale, I'm probably behind the curve here, but will the season be played with or without fans attending?
I'd guess they're going to have fans in the stands. Of some point, they'll try it. Let's put it that way. Right now, the plan probably is to accommodate season ticket holders because they're paying the bill, and particularly suite holders. All those levels in which you're kind of accountable for the people inside your suite. Yeah, they'll be in there. I mean, not only have they paid big money to be there, but they're in a contained environment, and if they have someone they don't trust, then don't put them in your suite. It's up to you. Now, then if you get to the ticket holders out in the stands, I don't think you'll all be grouped together. I think you will spread out. Whether they do that with assigned seating or they ask everyone to spread out, I'm not sure. And then any other leftover seats, I think, would accommodate student seating spread out on the student side. I think they're going to go with 40%. We'll see exactly what happens. But first people to be accommodated will be season ticket holders that have paid already, because that's money in the bank nobody wants to return.
Just seeing how all of the pro leagues that have returned have not had fans in attendance, I know that fan attendance and season tickets are major money drivers for the NCAA and college football. But the fact that there hasn't been an announcement from K-State about any plans for fans, and we're a month away. It's August 5th today. We're a month away from September 5th, which is still currently the set season start point for K-State. Obviously, that'll probably change here in the coming days, coming weeks. But we don't have a plan.
That's crazy.
And Riley County is still banning events over 50 people, 500 people. I'm not sure what it is. You need a waiver, and all venues close. All venues that have 2,000 or more seats are closed to the public to come in. So until there's more guidance in Riley County.
I can assure you this: Riley County will not ban K-State from having fans if they want to have fans. They just won't do it. I mean, that is devastating for the economics of the community. That is, if Kansas State feels safe enough on their property to have fans, Riley County standing in front of that, every person that does that will be out of office. I mean, they just will be. They might be recalled, because that will devastate local business if you choose not to let people come instead of the university saying we're not comfortable with it.
How does that apply to the health director then? I mean, obviously, I think that the health director would say, yeah, I think they would change they would let K-State have fans, but if they were to stand up, I don't know how you get them removed.
Well, you do. This is the problem. What we're not to get political here is we have non-elected officials making laws and passing edicts when they're not elected officials, and I don't know that they really have the power to do that. I mean, I've seen cities' health directors saying that people can be arrested and fined. You do not have the authority to do those things. You're not a lawmaker. It's frustrating to me. I understand the purposes here, but government's grabbing a lot of power here that they don't necessarily shouldn't probably have. But if elected officials want to say, hey, we're not allowing seating, we're not allowing these things, then I'm all for it. But when just an unelected person makes a law, that's not how America works.
Last question of the first half from the Ginth. Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Look at me go. I have a great idea. How about those of us who had COVID are the only ones who can attend games? What do you think? Yes, I had it.
Absolutely. You should have the green light. You earned it, brother. You earned it. Get in that stadium. Yeah, particularly if you're donating antibodies, which, is still, I'm curious if that really works or not. But if you're doing that to help out people who do have COVID, absolutely. Then again, we still don't really know if you're immune or not. We think so. But I'm not immune to gills, and I've been exposed to them for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a terrible idea, but then how much health information do you want to share with entities that are not health entities?
True.
Why should I have to give my medical history up to somebody to come to a game? Now, I will tell you this: if I came back positive and had antibodies, I would say, "Yep, I've had it." I'd carry around a piece of paper. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know how comfortable others are with sharing what diseases they've had with the public.
That's like saying you don't want to have your data stolen by China, but then using TikTok.
Thank you. Perfect timing.
This is off topic.
China knows what diseases you've had. They know they've got your DNA somewhere, all from having TikTok. I don't know how, but they're sneaky. That's it for the first half of the PowerCat Questions podcast. During the break, we're going to all watch TikTok so that China can learn everything about us and probably even learn stuff about my dogs, because that's all my TikTok would be.
Stay locked in. The PowerCat podcast will be right back.
Selling a little or a lot? Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage, to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's here to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. From their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system, wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 15% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. And sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US. And Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast.
My days working, taking care of my little ones can be a lot. I checked out care.com and it was so easy for me to find local, experienced, and background check sitters. Finding our babysitter was way more affordable than I thought. Care.com makes it super easy. Search for qualified candidates. You can view their profiles, read reviews and ratings, check their availability, send messages directly, get the help that you need. Care.com should be every person's go-to.
We now send it back to Fitz in the WTC Gig-Powered Studios.
Welcome back to the PowerCat Questions podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. Get in and visit our friends at the Fridge. If you're allowed to come to football, you're required to go to the fridge. You got to do it. But wear your mask or order on your app and have them bring it out to your car and then head to the parking lot. Hey, folks, don't forget we're having a 50% off sale. If you're a listener to the podcast and not a subscriber, it's time. If you are a subscriber and listening to the podcast, pass it on, man. Just pass it. You've got friends that aren't members of Go PowerCat that probably should be. Pass it on. Do us a favor. Pass it on. 50% off. Football's coming, and we're going to cover K-State sports completely. We're not going to be one thing. We're not going to be just kind of going through the motions. We're going to cover K-State sports and have an active community. The whole thing is coming at Go PowerCat. Get into Tanner's and the High-Low when you're in town. Visit them. They're doing a great job with social distancing, and they have amazing food. I saw Kanad made his first High-Low visit. And then said he heard about it on GoPowerCat.com, and some bartender probably went, what? Who? Where? So, but
we pay them money?
What? We do? We do? What? So,
well, that's that trade account we have.
Here's some more questions from Wabash Station. Gills, take it away.
From Wizard6294, how shocking and alarming are the Gary Patterson allegations?
Zero. I mean, after reading about what it was, he's got a player that is clearly unhappy about playing time, so he decided to try to out Gary Patterson for using a version of the N-word that isn't the full N-word. But he didn't direct it towards the player. He asked the player to stop using that word in the locker room because it is prohibited. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, I know that some people say you should never say it, but as a boss or a coach, for clarity's sake, you need to be clear with employee or student athlete. You are not allowed to say blank in the locker room. Stop doing it. Oh, you said it. Oh, I'm going to get you fired. This is absurd. Absurd. Come on, people. I mean, I understand we all have a little power with social media and we all use it at times, but trying to ruin someone's life because you're not getting enough playing time. He promised me playing time. No, he didn't. He didn't say you could come in and sit on your ass and suck and still start. No coach says that. He said you can come in and you're good enough to start. You'll probably start. You got to earn it. And then you're not doing it. You're not doing your work. Man, I think this says a lot more about this kid than Gary Patterson. Gary Patterson's a tough coach. He's a tough bird. He always has been. But to say he's racist because he used a word that you were using and he was simply asking you to stop using that word because it is offensive, come on, man. This is stupid. That's stupid. If I'm Gary Patterson and allowed to, I'd just kick that kid off the team. You're just being disruptive at this point.
To add to your point, Fitz, the fact that players were coming out immediately and disputing it says a lot. When the players immediately defend the coach and the coaching staff, it says a lot.
Gary Patterson's taken a lot of transfers, and for every Alex Delton, who's a really good kid, who did end up quitting, by the way, but is a really good kid, you're also a lot of transfers are available for other reasons. They got kicked off or they got in bad places. We've seen it at Kansas State. I mean, Hunter Rison came in because he was dismissed from Michigan State and K-State had problems. You got to be really careful what you bring into your locker room because you pour a little poison in your well. You got poison in your well. It doesn't matter if it's a little or a lot. You still got it there. And this kid sounds like he's ruinous. I mean, any kid that comes at you like that, man, this is unbelievable. It's unbelievable what we're doing to people right now.
Yeah, you guys couldn't have said it any better right there. I agree. It's a crazy world. That's like 2020 right in a nutshell for you.
It's just, we've gone insane. We're digging up every little thing in someone's past, or we're, like in this case, twisting what happened or simply making things up just to get back at people. Because now you can literally make up stuff and someone should be fired. It's just it's weirdo world. It's like we've got a bunch of mobs running around deciding who's guilty and who's not instead of any kind of sensible system. It's awful.
From K-Ned, have we reached an era where it is in a coach's best interest to be mic'd, recorded, and save all interactions with players?
K-Ned, we're getting there, aren't we? We've got to be. I mean, go full Richard Nixon, but don't record things that... I mean, that's the problem. If you're an honest coach, if you're not doing shady stuff, then I don't see why you probably wouldn't record all your team meetings and stuff. I mean, phone calls, that's a little bit more difficult. You have to be in a state where you can record without the other person's knowledge, but we're getting there. The problem is you can record everything and say, well, he didn't record that phone call. You mean the one you just made up? I mean, it's just kind of an endless loop here that we're in. It's insanity, but yeah, it's kind of like maybe coaches should be wearing body cameras, try to protect themselves so they can prove that they didn't hit a kid, that maybe they grabbed their face mask to make them look at them, but they didn't assault them, like what Jim Leavitt went through, and everyone ended up saying, well, he didn't really do what he was accused of, but he still was fired and his career ruined. It's insane. We're just in weirdo time.
Another question from WCAT. Will the Big 12 presidents and athletic directors ever have enough guts to stand up to Texas?
No, they won't.
They won't. They can't.
No.
They can't.
No. Texas is the big fish in a little pond, and until Texas is tired of being the big fish in a little pond, the Big 12 will survive. I don't know if there's any other questions about this, but if you're concerned about the Big 12's long-term survivability, Texas is a part of that. And I think all 9 other, well, you can throw Oklahoma as being also kind of a big fish there, but they're not Texas. But the other 8 schools understand their place in the conference, in the market. Yeah. And Texas is there, and that's the cash cow, no pun intended there. But
it was good.
It's a really good pun.
Proud of yourself, aren't you?
But no, I think that Texas is Texas, and they get to run the show until somebody else is making as much money or more money than them.
And really, that's what this conference is about. We can all sit around, and me in particular, and think expanding is good. But if Texas doesn't want to do it, which they don't, it won't happen. It won't happen because Texas always has that wild card. Well, we're going to leave. We have our own TV network, and we're just going to leave. And it gets tiring, and it gets exhausting. I think a better plan is for selected ADs to sit down with Texas and say, "What can we meet a little bit in the middle? I mean, can we try to do some things here?" I'm going to just say this. I can guarantee you, and it may not have just been Texas, but I can guarantee you that no plan was ever put in place for BYU to join this conference for 1 year based on BYU's Mormon background. Not that they hate Mormons, but they do strongly disagree with their stance on lesbian, gay issues. The Mormon Church is very strict on that. And, I don't want to delve into that, but I can guarantee you that BYU will not be a member of a conference anytime in the future based on their hard stance on that, because it is met with an equally hard stance on equality for lesbian and gay students and athletes and professors and human beings from Texas. That stance is right, but, is it above all things, including the health of your conference? Maybe. But maybe you need to get BYU to the table so you can maybe influence them. I don't know. Maybe they'll never change. But if they have no openings about it, which I don't see the Mormon Church doing that, then I don't think they'll ever be in a conference. I know the Pac-12 won't have them. That's for sure. Pac-12 wants no religious institutions. I just don't. So I'm betting that's why that plan never went in place. But my counter to that is, then why didn't you look at UConn or Army or even anyone else that's an independent? Army, I get it's a weird offense. You don't want to schedule that in. I mean, you just don't. You get crap beat out of you. So I don't know. But Texas runs a conference. And I wish there was something else to say about it, but I would like a commissioner to try to stand up once in a while, even if it causes them to get fired, but so be it.
Next question from KNED. When planning road construction projects, did Manhattan assume students wouldn't return and games would be without fans? Dorm move-in is going to be a bad joke. Pierre and every block around are gone. There aren't even two ways to get in and out on the bridge.
It's horrible. This town, it's totally devastated right now. I mean, Kimball will not be done for football season. Hell, they just finished half of it, and it took them 3 months. I don't think Kimball will ever be done during football season, as far as I can see, Zach.
I remember this happening last year. It seemed like it took them for basically the entire summer to get one half done. And then once crunch time came around, they were able to figure it out and get it done. So
the difference
I know
this isn't resurfacing. Have you noticed how much lower Kimball is now? They've lowered it by about 2 feet.
And as of this week, they've switched to driving on the other side. Right. So they'll tear out the other half. And when they did that, just, probably less than a mile west last summer, I mean, it was kind of the same thing. They regraded some stuff. But for most of the summer, it was, you were driving on that one on the old side, and then they finally got the new side done. And then they slapped up the new side, the second half in a relatively short amount of time compared to how long the first part took. So I don't know if there's a construction science there that you're able to go quicker. Once you get half of it done, you're like, oh, we know what we're doing now. We can move this along. I don't know. But I don't want to say that, I think that it'll 100% be done, but I don't want to make the call now.
Yeah. Well,
just knowing what happened last year, and they were able to get everything done, but it looks
impossible.
It looks impossible.
It looks impossible because they did lower the level of Kimball quite a bit, so now the old side the south side is still there, and it's a good, I don't know, at least a foot, if not 2 feet higher.
It's probably 2 feet, yeah, in some places.
And it looks like they've started building a wall around the parking lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's going to be a nice limestone wall around
It's so pretty. Yeah, I don't know. College looks like it's about done. College has been gone, folks. You haven't been able to go down College past like the soccer, baseball stadiums. It's been totally torn up, which has been interesting for me because I live close to Browning. So now all the ambulance traffic has to come down Browning and go in the back way. It's crazy to get to the hospital. So that looks like it'll be done. But the other day, Zach, I went up Dickens. I dead into College. And I have to turn right. You can't turn left there. So I turn right, and I'm thinking, I'm going to shoot down Claflin.
Get
across
on
town.
Saturday.
Okay, so let's recap here. So Kimball is destroyed. It's down to one lane. Fort Riley Boulevard, they're redoing the bridge there by Briggs and the hotel. So that's down to one lane each direction, and that's a mess. That really bottlenecks. Points has construction down by the freshman, the East Campus of Manhattan High School.
Yep.
And, of course, Bluemont/Anderson is limited right now because of the building of the hotel at the edge of Aggieville. Claflin was the only existing road, the main east-west artery in town that was unscathed. So I go to Claflin, and they're resurfacing it, and they have it down to 2 lanes. Every east-west artery in this town has lane closures. It's amazing. I don't know what the planning was. I think with the pandemic, they kicked some stuff into gear, but they went too far. I mean, Cadenhead's exactly right. Dorm move in, any kind of move in, it's going to be a circus in this town.
Claflin and Manhattan is still blown up. There's no intersection there.
Yeah.
You can't take – this is like the 4th or 5th year out of the last 6 that you can't take Manhattan Avenue anywhere. It is a worthless road. It's not even a sidewalk. You can't even go on it.
Zach, when they opened up Manhattan Avenue up on the top of the hill there by what used to be the Baking Institute.
It still is.
I thought
not as much of it.
Didn't they go out of business?
No, they're still around. They've lowered the number of like in-person classes that they offer. Oh. Like they do a lot of stuff remotely, and they've kind of changed their business plan there. So put up their buildings. Yeah,
at the top of that hill there, when they got that all done, and it was closed for a good year, did you think, what the hell took so long? Because there really isn't that much different. They added some lanes.
Yeah.
At the top. What took them a year? And now they've closed the lower part of that road. This town's insane with, man. And you have to understand, this town gets a heavy amount of traffic. For a town of its size, with all the stuff that goes on in Manhattan, particularly sporting events, it gets a lot more auto traffic than a typical town of 50,000. It just does. But, oh my goodness. Oh,
I mean, hopefully they're building these roads as, to last, not just something that you're not going to do a simple resurface on, something, like interstate type grade, when they put the lines in it and it's really nice looking concrete and it takes forever to make. Hopefully it's that's what it looks like they're doing on Kimball. It's not, they're rebuilding the entire road, but yeah, it's frustrating for sure, but hopefully these roads last a long time so we're not having construction all in one summer. But I don't know where else you can do construction now. I don't know the next place that needs construction.
My house. If the city could come by my house and do some stuff, like add some flooring, that'd be lovely. I would stop complaining about in fact, I will take to Twitter. I will use my power of Twitter to try to blackmail the city into adding flooring to my house. Maybe paint it. That'd be nice, too. I'll try to get everyone fired. That's how it works.
Another question from K-Ned. So, are the stripes silver trimmed or lavender? Do we know about the primary pants and helmet?
Nope. To fill people in, there's Zach tracked down. Zach, one of the things Zach knows is Nike uniform stuff. I mean, he's kind of like Rain Man. He's talking about what did Zach just take over? I don't know. I can't even.
Templates?
Oh, my God. You know the templates that Nike uses for
basically, yeah. So, I mean, how it works is, when you design a garment, the seams go in one place, there's a design to that. And, you can take your fabric, whatever color it is for each team, but you sew it the same. So K-State changed that to what Nike's been using the last 3 years. They introduced it in the NFL, and, Bill Snyder did not like changing stuff. If he could have something the same for forever, he would. And back when from 2015 to 2019, they wore the same template, and they only started wearing that in 2015 because the old template wasn't being made anymore by Nike, so they had to switch. But when they switched, it was almost time for a new Nike template that they're wearing now, so it just took them for a long time to make this. But they've made the Power Cat on the neckline a little bigger. That's really the main change, and it's white instead of silver. The numbers might look a little bigger. I don't know if it's a different. I think they're bigger. I don't know if they're necessarily a different font, but I know Kane had mentioned that they looked like the old Snyder 1.0 numbers that they wore on the Russell Athletic jerseys before they switched to Nike. I think that it's not that bold. Like those numbers were super bold, like black. If you understand fonts, I guess, and typefaces. But
Nerd.
I would say that these are. I don't know if they're bolder, but they do look bigger, and that's kind of been a recent trend, is making those numbers bigger on your jerseys. But
then I think shoulders or arms, that they've always had like a silver stripe separating the purple and the white.
Mm-hmm.
And in the photo, it could be just the photo, it could be an illusion. It looks like the little stripe in between the purple and white is lavender.
I think it's the photo.
I think it's the photo. Gene Taylor has been pretty emphatic that lavender is not the football color. Basketball can use it. Other sports might want to use it, but football won't. So I'd be surprised if it was a lavender stripe.
I think it's silver, and I think it's just the lighting in the photo. Because if you look at the photo comparison that I posted, obviously one's in a game, the other one's in a studio, but the studio lighting is just different, and even the purple looks different compared to what the jersey Skyler's wearing. I don't think it is.
I think it is. I think they've gone to the K-State purple, the actual Pantone color. Boy, we're nerds. That K-State uses. I feel like the jersey's more purple. Bill Snyder liked like a plum, dark purple, black. And I think they've gone to the K-State purple, which Ron Prince used, by the way. But I think they're coming back to it.
The reason I don't think that it's changed is because Nike's always the color Nike uses for K-State is New Orchid, and I don't think that. And that that's all the stuff that K-State fan gear, so T-shirts that Nike makes. That purple that you see is specific to K-State, and I think one other Nike school at the time, maybe Washington, and then I think TCU and LSU are the Nike schools that use one Pantone different than K-State, but it's kind of a darker purple. I don't know. Maybe K-State has changed, and we'll see if it's lighter on the field. But it would be an interesting change if K-State did make it, and Nike made it. But I think that that's just the lighting as far as the sleeves go. But I would guess that the helmets will stay mostly the same, silver and white. They might change up the striping on them down the center, change the decals on the side, and then probably silver and white pants, probably the same. I don't know what else you do. They're not going to do black. They're not going to do, I don't know what other colors. Maybe purple pants. Who knows? Maybe a purple helmet, but I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, I'd be a little surprised, but maybe not totally surprised. Trying to get something to load here. I'm trying to find the actual color markings, but
the color.
It's in color codes. Here we go.
Color is Pantone 268 plus.
So the CMYK is 82-100-012.
Correct.
Which that 12 is black. We use, as our PowerCat purple, we use 80% cyan, 100% magenta, and 10% yellow and no black. So it gives it a brighter purple. That shows up better on the internet. That's why we do it.
Yeah, that's what K-State uses. I'll have to let me look up the New Orchid Pantone. Well, that's Orchid. At least it might not be New Orchid Pantone, but that's what Nike calls it, New Orchid.
Yeah, it's a Nike. See, it's a Nike color is different than the Pantone color.
Yeah.
We'll see. I hope they're more purple. Yeah. Particularly hope the PowerCat on the helmet is purple instead of whatever it is. It doesn't even match the uniforms. It is truly a black purple.
But if they went lighter on the jerseys, that'd be the other direction. And they don't change the PowerCat, that'd be the other direction. Oh. It'd be even further apart.
Ugh. Yeah, they need to get that PowerCat purple. That's just me. That's me. That's really all that's important. I think we can agree on that. Next question, Gills. We can agree that what I think is the most important, and now we need a new question.
From Follis Nelson, what is your take on some of the Pac-12 players' demands in order to play this season?
Well, look, half the demands are not only reasonable, but why demand it? That's going to happen. I mean, the testing in major conferences will be set. You'll be able to opt out of playing and keep your scholarship. All those demands. I mean, I don't know what that was about. That's going to happen. Nobody's going to lose their scholarship because they don't feel safe playing. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen right there. I mean, that's very simple. But their financial demands are outlandish. To tell a university you have to go back and add in sports that you dropped is what business is that of yours? And then on top of that, to demand 50% of revenue, what? Well, then how the hell are they going to pay for those other sports? It is, so ignorant to the finances of college sports. Now, do I believe that the cost of living should be greatly adjusted and they should be getting a stipend of some sort? Yeah. 50% of revenue? That means you're really a professional at that point. I mean, that's nuts. And by the way, we want the other sports added, but we only get the money. If the sports that generate it, will get the money. And they didn't outline whether a walk-on would get the money. Probably just a scholarship guy. So then that creates a whole other thing. And of course, that is illegal under Title IX. Probably that you can't do that. Only pay male athletes and not female athletes. So it's crazy. It's stupid. It's at some point you're going to have to say, hey, you know what? Here's what we're offering. You get a scholarship. You get fed. You get great training. You get the adoration of fans. You get a stipend of X amount of dollars a month to help you pay your bills. Do I think the NCAA should allow them to give them things like more clothing that isn't school-related? Maybe. They should be able to help them out. They should be able to fly them home more often when they need to. I believe in all of that. But to actually profit from playing an amateur sport is not what an amateur sport is. And the time is probably coming to say, hey, I know you're the star running back, but if you don't like the deal, then we don't have a deal. Then next guy up. I mean, yeah. I would encourage everyone that is siding with the players in this, so they should get 50% of revenue from college football or TV money, whatever they're asking for. Go ahead and Google Ronald Reagan air traffic controllers. I think that we can agree that an air traffic controller is more important than a running back or a quarterback or a defensive end, even if they're NFL caliber. An air traffic controller lands planes and makes sure they don't run into each other. But when the air traffic controllers asked for too much, they all lost their jobs and new ones came in. And really, there wasn't a great disruption. There wasn't. We got through it just fine. And a bunch of people lost their opportunity at a really good job. So there we go. Let's look that up and let that be a lesson to you. You go too far in your demands, and you end up with zero.
Yeah, the 50%, I think it was Southpaw that had a good response to this in one of the threads on this. But, I mean, 50%, at that point, you're an owner. You know, you need some skin in the game. You know, you've got all these facilities, you know, like with the, you know, pro athletes, you know, they are not readily replaceable. I mean, they kind of are, but at the level they get paid at and the skill level they're at, no. But 50% for, you know, an 18-year-old kid coming out, didn't do anything, you know, to have ownership, so to speak. The economics don't work. They would never work, even if they wanted to do it. If everybody wanted to do 50%, I don't think that it wouldn't work, even if you wanted to. It just
financially collapse the entire system.
Yeah. If you wanted 50% and if you agreed to it, you'd be agreeing to 0% because you'd never get that money. It would ruin college sports. You would never play anything ever again.
And as for the people that say, well, you've got $1 billion in your endowment, first of all, quite often the endowments are separate entities from an athletic department. And I know that an athletic department has an endowment for the Micah Hearn Fund. But if I give you $10 million for the Micah Hearn Scholarship Fund, and I get a tax break because I'm giving it for scholarships, and it's earmarked for scholarships, and then you use it to pay athletes or to offset paying athletes, not only have you breached our contract, but you have probably violated federal law because that is no longer tax exempt at that point. And I shouldn't have gotten a tax break for it. So most money that goes in, say, if I give money for the KSU Foundation, it is earmarked for the journalism school, vet med, or athletics. And if you cross-pollinate it and start using it in other ways, you have broken a financial contract. And that's not how endowments work. Endowments work not as a savings account. They live off the interest to ongoing payments to whatever entity they were donated to pay for future things. Ongoing. It's endowed forever. You don't take out your endowment. That's not how it works, and that's not the obligation the holder of the endowment has to their donors. It's just silly. It's silly. There's so much financial ignorance going on right now. It just drives me insane.
Yeah, and if you don't like the deal, you don't have to take the deal.
Yeah.
If you don't like the deal you're getting as a college athlete, you can walk, or you can be told to walk when you try taking a ridiculous amount of money. There's plenty of athletes, student athletes in high school that would love to play college athletics, get a free education out of it.
Let's put it this way. When I hired Ryan Gilbert, I said, Ryan, here's what you're going to get paid an hour. I'm not going to say because it's illegal. And you also have to wash my car. And I like foot rubs. And you got to come walk my dogs on a daily basis. He could take it or leave it. He took it. Now, look, Riley left because I asked for cuddles. And that probably was not only inappropriate, but too far. And I'm not asking Gills for cuddles. And if he doesn't want to do the foot rubs, then I'll get someone else. I'm sure there's a student out there desperate enough to work for me if they have to rub my feet. Right, Gills?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Yes. And $3 an hour really goes a long ways in Manhattan, Kansas.
Last question of the podcast from Fullest Nelson. Should players who opt out this season be able to keep this year's eligibility?
That's an NCAA/conference question. I would hope so. I would hope it's almost like a year of military service, or like BYU. BYU has an exemption when you go on Mormon. What's it called?
A mission?
Mission. When you go on a Mormon mission. Sorry, I've never been on a mission in my life. When you go on your mission, your clock stops, your eligibility clock, and thus you are a 25-year-old senior or whatever. I hope it's going to be like that. The problem is then it backs up your scholarships, and you're limiting opportunities for incoming freshmen. Then you've got all these players returning, and you only have 12 spots in your next freshman class, and that limits opportunities for people who had nothing to do with it, who weren't even eligible during the pandemic. And it gets troublesome. But they'll figure it out. They'll make it work, and maybe they add scholarships for the exemptions. Instead of 85, you get 87. Or I don't know. But it's NCAA. We may never know.
I think that's just being able to take a sabbatical, for a year and pause your clock. I think that's probably the best option. I don't know how you divvy up scholarships. I think, perhaps you just say, okay, you're not on scholarship for this year. You're going to take a year off from, going to school or whatever. I don't really know how you do the numbers game there, but I'm sure they'll make it work.
Gills, if I go on sabbatical for a year, would you just do everything?
I think Zach would do everything.
Okay.
It's probably true.
I don't know what I'd do on a sabbatical. Because people use sabbaticals to write a book or travel or, do something substantial with their life. I would probably eat cookies. What'd you do on your sabbatical? I eat cookies. I like sampled cookies. Not like fancy cookies, like store-bought cookies, and made a top 10 list of cookies over a course of a year. That was my sabbatical. That's the kind of stuff you get at GoPowerCat.com, and it's 50% off right now. That kind of cookie coverage, you're not going to find anywhere else. Seriously, if you're not a subscriber, do it right now. 50% off for a year is amazing, and you'll be in the team. You'll get all our VIP coverage, and that'll include a whole lot of recruiting that you're not going to see anywhere else. That's it for the PowerCat Questions podcast. We'll be back later in the week with your overtime. And if you haven't caught up on the life of Fitz, Michael Smith, the incredible K-State receiver and former coach, is this week's topic, and I think it's pretty good. We'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the PowerCat Questions podcast, presented by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. PowerCat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.